Schubert, owner of Sentient Pottery, and I want to start my first YouTube video with a tour of my studio, which is incredibly wonderful. It's a converted garage in an older house, and as you can see, it's kind of painted funky and has some funky stuff on the walls, and it's just kind of a perfect place for me to get my creativity on. I want to show you some parts of my studio that I find are important for me, and I'm going to start with the size. It is about 18 by 18. I could use more space, but couldn't everybody. I don't have room in here for my kiln, nor would I want it in here. So my kiln's out back. I also have no room for storage of things to package and ship my items. So I use a different room for that. Other than that, everything is self-contained within the studio itself. As you can see, we're going to be moving around a little bit. I have a wheel. It's a Brent wheel. I've had it for years. It's a workhorse, and I love it. On top of it, I have a diamond bat that does it grinds down the bottom of pots. Just a little tip, they're super nice to have in case your bottoms aren't exactly even. The additional equipment is I'm going to grab my notes here, is the slab roller. And this is a Shimpo slab roller, and I love it specifically because it does numerous thicknesses when you do the slab rolling. It can go all the way from 3 inches down to 0, but I use a quarter of an inch thick for most of my work. However, if the work is very, very thin, which an example would be right here, this is an 1/8 inch thick porcelain. And porcelain's very strong, so it works nicely with very, very thin pieces of clay. So you can get an idea of the different types of things that you can do with it. However, some of my bigger pieces, like this one drying over here, is a 1/2 inch thick because it's so big and it needs to have plenty of oomph to it. Okay, so in addition to the wheel and the slab roller, a couple of the smaller things that I use. One of them is an airbrush, and I love this particular airbrush. It's an Iwata, I think. Yep, right here you can see the brand. And it has a little section that you can put your glazes in here and spray with this. And this one's way easier to deal with than some of the other ones because it doesn't get clogged as easily. I put this right next to the airbrush because it's an extremely important piece of equipment to have. It's not expensive, but never use your airbrush unless you also use your respirator or ventilator on it. And so that I have a collection of respirators just in case I need them. I do have a large air compressor over here for spraying my pottery, which is a much bigger deal than my little airbrush. I don't do a lot of spraying of pottery, but it's certainly nice to have when you need it. I got that one at Harbor Freight for a very, very good price. I have a hair dryer, which is standard in every studio because I do like to make my pottery a little bit drier, a little bit quicker. And so the hair dryer is a really, really good way of doing that. In addition to that, I have a torch, and I do highly recommend these. I buy propane by the 3 tanks at a time, and I use this on almost every single piece that I do to stiffen it up so that I can continue working a little bit faster. I do recommend this Benzomatic. It's called TS4000. And the reason why is because all you have to do is press this and it works. You don't have to turn the valve on and off all the time, which can be a real pain when you're using these an awful lot. Okay, in addition to that, a little bit of, I do a appreciate having a vacuum in the studio. Mine is battery powered, and so it does help me keep a little bit clean. But as you know, pottery studios are typically very dusty, and mine is too. But I do try to keep it as clean as I can because I find that my ability to be creative in a dirty studio is definitely diminished. Okay, so in terms of the design of the studio, I have a lot of storage in here. As you can see panning around, I have storage for all my glazes here. I have a free shelf there for miscellaneous things, and then I have storage for my dry ingredients if I want to make my own glazes down there. I also have a closet that those are in my studio itself. This flat file is a new addition to my studio, and I would not trade it for anything. If anybody at all does any templates or decorating using pictures that you've drawn, then these flat files are absolutely imperative. You can see the other half of it is over here because it was a very large flat file. And I use every single drawer, and when my husband and I bought it together, we thought, oh my gosh, I'm only going to use 4 drawers, and yet all of them are full. In terms of storage, also I have this incredibly wonderful two-door metal cabinet. I'm not going to open it because that's sort of a disaster inside, but in a later video I will show you how I use that. The other storages that I have are over here. These are the works that are for sale on my website, which is www.sentientpottery.com. It's also on Etsy. So these are the pieces that are ready for sale, just in case anybody stops by and wants to buy something directly from me instead of from one of my shops. There's some more storage over here, and you can see in here I have these heads that I've used to make molds from. The molds are here. Other molds for bowls and plates are here, and this is just a piece of junk, so don't worry about it. My husband built me this table in the middle of my pottery studio, and the dimensions are 4x8, I believe, and it has a shelf underneath. The shelf underneath, I store scrap clay. I never waste any clay, but you have to get really good at wedging if you're going to be doing that. Speaking of wedging, I have a table over here, which is a butcher block table, and that's where I do all my wedging. I know a lot of people really enjoy doing their wedging on plaster of Paris type blocks, but I really prefer this because for a couple of reasons. One is I had it and it was cheap. Another one is because it's down low enough that I could actually put my weight into my wedging, and it doesn't have really a finished surface on it, so it still does take some moisture out of the clay when you're wedging, and so this is really my wedging table. I use this storage here for drying of pieces. So you can see I have 2 pieces. Well, this one's actually in the process of making, but this one is drying and will be ready for bisque soon. If you go up just one shelf here, you can see, or 2 shelves, you can see sort of the starts of my boneyard. Every potter has what I call a boneyard, where you have pieces that you're not really willing to sell because you don't like them, they don't meet your standards, but you also can't really bring yourself to throw away, and so I don't really have a great way of advising you on that because I'm not really sure what I'm going to be doing with them either. If you look over here, this red chair, it's a new addition also, and I'm finding that having a comfortable chair in your studio is so great because if you're like I am, you use Pinterest and Etsy and all those different social media mediums, and I like to just sit here and enjoy doing that, or even just sit here and enjoy looking at my studio. But because I do an awful lot of internet work in here, I also need to be able to have a wireless connection. Being that this is a garage and largely surrounded by concrete brick, the wireless connection from the house doesn't come in here very well. So you can see up here on the ceiling, I have a wireless repeater that certainly does help with that. So that's my studio tour so far, and I will be making more videos in my YouTube channel for Sentient Pottery. I appreciate you stopping by and visiting me. Thanks.